Howdy, it's Alexander here at AZ Firearms Auctions, taking a look once again at our December 5th high-end military auction and all of the pocket pistols within. I'm going to zero on something, but first let's talk about 25 ACP as a cartridge. It's also called 6.35 Browning. It's a very small centerfire cartridge, and it lends itself to a few things. It's not rimmed, so it's easy to fit in a magazine. It's centerfire, so it's more reliable than a rimfire. And also, it can use direct blowback, which is a mechanical principle that's used in a lot of pocket pistols up to 380, generally. It's where just the pressure from the case coming rearwards is what cycles the action. Now, usually, that's a perfectly acceptable way to cycle a handgun, but it does need to rely on a fairly heavy slide, or bolt, or breech, or whatever the pistol manages to have. And if you want to save the most weight on it, you're going to have to come up with something special. So the only two guns here that aren't revolvers and aren't direct blowback are right there. Following World War I, a fellow named Mann in Germany came up with an interesting design to make the smallest semi-auto 25 ACP possible, or 6.35 Browning in this case, by using a form of impeded blowback. I'll get into that in a second. But first, look at how tiny that is. Most Americans know the size of standard 1911, and it just dwarfs it in size, really earns it the title of a mouse gun. Super cool, super tiny, and mechanically, once again, super interesting, because it can't rely on a slide to take a lot of that weight, a lot of that pressure off and stop it from bludgeoning itself to death with this super light bolt. The way that it gets around it is by purposefully deforming the brass while it's in the chamber. Inside of the chamber, there is a little ring ribbed all the way around that pushes the brass out, forcing the bolt to reform the brass as it extracts, which is usually after the chamber pressures are enough to take a lot of that away from the breech, or bolt. So Germans, of course, have a very long history with deforming brass on purpose. We'll see similar concepts with the MP5, which uses fluted chambers for the G3 before it. The H&K VP70, of course, had very shallow grooves to allow for less pressure coming back into the slide. A lot of those technical feats come from things like this. Now, this is one of two that we have coming up in our December 5th auction. The photos are already up, but we are still filling it. If you have any consignments you would like to bring in, anything cool military related, feel free, give us a call or swing on by. You can check these out at pogauctions.com, and I hope to see you there.